whoever invented sugar-free, zero-calorie soda needs a forehead kiss and a back rub. On God, bro. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another video. If this isn't a welcome back, let me introduce myself. My name's Chris. I know how to read. Allegedly. And this video is going to be kind of a realistic, authentic view in how I fit reading into my everyday life kind of on a weekly basis. And I don't have any wood to knock on, so I hope I don't jinx it by saying this, but this should be a pretty typical week in my life. As much as I love watching booktube people and book Instagram people read a bajillion pages a week, that's not my life, and I'm sure it's not the life for a lot of y'all. So I want to try and promote kind of just like a very regular style of reading, a very regular way of just like adding reading to your kind of everyday schedule. Like for example, today has been a pretty chill day. I got some errands done in the morning, so I wasn't able to get a lot of reading done. I also watched a basketball game, but don't tell nobody. And also no free promo, but I do have like the movie pass thing for my local movie theater when I can watch like a movie a day or something like that. So I think I'm gonna go see either Novocaine with Jack Quaid or Mickey 17, I think it's called, with Robert Pattinson. I don't know anything about either movie, but I respect the hell out of both of those actors. So I think we're gonna film this intro. I'm gonna go to the movies, and then the books that I'm gonna read, I've actually talked a lot about on this channel already, so we're just gonna speed run through them. First and foremost, Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. It's the book that we're gonna start this video with, and it's the book that was #1 on my TBR for so long, and then I got it, I read 50 pages of it, and then I stopped reading it for 2 weeks. Next up, A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn, a history lesson told not from the view of the conquerors, but from the view of the conquered. I think I got like 241 pages into this the first time that I read it, but I haven't picked this up in 2 or 3 weeks, but I have loved every single second of this book that I've read so far. This is like, I don't know if y'all could see it from here. This is Sapiens in terms of like history. Next up, You Dreamed of Empires by Alvaro Enrique, translated by a Natasha Wimmer, a kind of psychedelic retelling of the first time that the Spaniards met the Aztec Empire and Moctezuma. These 3 books, again, I'm not gonna go into too much detail because I've been trying to read these books in videos for so long. And so much of my reading this month has been dominated by like very big, physically heavy books, right? You have The Shining, which I loved. You have Crime and Punishment, which I loved. If you haven't seen that video, something should be popping up on screen. It was awesome. And then also it was an audiobook, but Educated was so heavy in like the subject matter that it made it, every time I read that book, it felt like I was going to war. So that's what this week's video is going to be about. We're going to do a very chill, just like practical, down to earth reading vlog where we just try to fit in reading into our everyday schedule. And I hope that y'all are able to try and fit in reading, whether it's an audiobook on your Kindle, whatever a Kubo is. That's too much technology for me. I don't understand it. Or a physical book. I hope that y'all are able to fit reading into your everyday lives. All right, this is the fit we got for the movie theater. We're going for pure comfort. I don't want anybody telling me I don't know how to put a fit on. I'm going to the movies by myself, which you should do more often. I'm not talking to me. I'm talking to the viewer. Right here. Hat is Goodwill, shirt is Goodwill, pants are Play-Doh's, shoes are Adidas. We're going for pure comfort right now, okay? I love going to stuff by myself, and I hope that y'all have the chance to go to stuff by yourself as well. Movies are one of the things that I obviously love, to be like with a group of people watching like the newest Marvel thing, or with my mom at home, or with my roommate at home. But I also love being able to watch movies by myself. So, fit is on. I gotta grab phone, wallet, keys, and then we're good to go. Before I forget, however, I do have to swap out one of my turn blinker lights. All right, you're not gonna follow me. I do gotta swap one of these bad boys out, so we're gonna do that. New light is in. Come on. There we go. Y'all ever seen a headlight before? I'm really gonna hop into Epidemic Sound and type in manly sounds, like manly construction noises. I think we're good. Let's go to the movies. I'm not here for you, sweet prince. We're not here for you. Not today. I'm just trying to watch a movie, bro. What is this? What is this? I just want to see a movie. What's all this? I can't even get mad, though. I asked one of the stores nearby what was going on, and they had said that apparently there was some sort of threat in the movies, and like I didn't realize this when I was driving by, but all the employees and stuff were like waiting outside, and like there were even more cops that I didn't even like show in the video. So obviously I recognize how scary of a situation that can be, so I hope everybody and everything is okay. And then Rumi and I spent like 20 minutes trying to find something to watch like on my TV, on streaming or whatever, and we were unsuccessful. So I think I'm going to change back into like a comfy at-home fit, and then I think I'm just going to read Martyr for a little bit. I've been using the Pomodoro method whenever I have a bunch of free time to like read and do errands and stuff like that, which for those of y'all that don't know, it's 25 minutes of deep work, which in this situation is reading, and then 5 minutes of like break time, do whatever you want, which has proven helpful because it allows me to not lose track of what I'm reading. I think one of the things that I really kind of suffered from when I was reading The Shining and Crime and Punishment, specifically in Crime and Punishment, was that there were large, like very complex blocks of text. And if I was reading for too long uninterrupted, it almost like hindered my reading ability because everything seemed to blend together. So having these little 5-minute breaks kind of placed in between these reading blocks proved to be really helpful. And also it gave me a chance to like use the bathroom, drink some water, do like pick up some random stuff around my room and stuff like that. So I think I'm going to do that now. It is currently about 9:30. So let's change and then let's get started reading. I know this wasn't exactly what I had in mind when I initially left to go see whatever movie I was going to go see, but things change. Like I said, I hope everybody and everything is okay, and we just move on and adapt. Let's go. So 4 Pomodoro rounds later, and I am on page 125 of Martyr, and I can't, like, I really don't want to exaggerate this when I say this, but first and foremost, this book lives up to any and all hype that I heard about it. This is so good. The way that Kaveh Akbar is able to write not just Cyrus Shams, our main character, but also the way that they are able to kind of switch perspectives, switch writing / talking style, switch personalities when they're talking about, or when they're using other characters as kind of like our narrator, I think is like done so well. And life-changing is like a big word, right? And again, I'm only on page 125 out of like 330 and change, so barely a third of the way through this book. But this book is making me think of Educated, which I talked about in my February reading wrap-up. And while Educated was mostly having me like having to really think and put myself in the shoes of someone in Tara Westover's position, what Kaveh Akbar is able to do through Cyrus Shams, through his family, through his friends, is make me kind of take a more introspective look into myself and how I view death and dying and what I want my passing to mean to the people around me, if that makes sense. Our main character, Cyrus, wants to write a book on those who died for a purpose, those who died for a cause, those who wanted their deaths to mean something. Martyrs. Like, they did the thing very early on in the book where they say the name of the book in the text. And he finds out that there's this woman in a museum in New York who currently has about 4 months left to live, and she's doing like an art exhibit where people can come up to her and have a conversation with her about death, about life, about whatever they want, really. And Cyrus decides that this woman would be perfect specifically for the book that he wants to write, but also because she is also Iranian and she also kind of shares some life similarities to Cyrus. So he ends up talking to this woman. At the point that I am in the book, he's only been able to talk to this woman whose name is Orchidea, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Orchidea. Once, but I'm sure later on in the book there's going to be more conversations between them. I think my favorite thing about this book so far is the fact that while Cyrus is going through all of these emotions, all of these like thought experiments where he's trying to figure out like how he can make his life matter. Does his life matter now? Like, how is he going to make his life and like what he wants to do while he's also trying to write this book about martyrs and things like that. But we're also going through that conversation with ourselves while we're reading this book. So as Cyrus is going on this journey, we are also going on this journey on like, what can I do to make my life have meaning? What do I want my death to mean to the people around me? And that's like a really powerful kind of idea and statement that this book is like making me think about. I don't know how much time I will have to read. I don't know how much time I'll have to read tomorrow. I have to get up pretty early to go to the gym, and that takes up most of my morning time. And then essentially right when I get home from the gym, I have to go to work. So we'll kind of see how I can fit reading in, but I'm definitely glad that I gave this book another shot because it is It is very, very good. I've been on a streak of 5-star books recently with Educated, The Shining, and Crime and Punishment. And a third of the way through this book, this is already a 4 or a 5-star for me. I'm really, really loving it and enjoying it. So I will catch y'all tomorrow morning, but probably tomorrow afternoon. Bye. Good morning, y'all. I hope you had a good night's rest because I did not. Which is weird because I went to sleep at like a regular time. I didn't change anything up. I didn't do anything crazy. But I think maybe I got like a solid 3 hours of sleep today, which isn't great. I decided not to go to the gym, which is disappointing, but I'll be back on that grind tomorrow. And I kind of let myself sleep in a little bit because I try not to get too mad at myself when I sleep in, because at the end of the day, my body needs a rest. So I'm not too mad about that. Unfortunately, that means I'm probably not going to be able to get any reading done before work, but I got my to-do list essentially finished. I just got to wait for some laundry to dry, and then I can fold that. I'm going to try and take Martyr with me to work, or I'm going to take it with me to work, and I'll try and see if I can read it like on my break or something like that, but I don't know if I'm going to have the time like after I finish eating and everything. I'm watching Faith Reading's new video, which is very, very nice. Love her content, love her videos, very awesome. And then I think besides that, I'm chilling. I'm prepped to go to work, so when it's time to go, it's time to go. I think I'm just going to finish my journal entry. Hopefully I can read some Martyr at work, and if not, I'll definitely read some Martyr when I get home. So if I can read tonight, we'll fast forward to that. If not, don't yell at me. I'm sensitive. Good morrow, everybody. It is actually the next day. I don't know what happened yesterday. Like, it wasn't a particularly like difficult day at work or anything like that, but I got home and I know sometimes I cuss on this channel and sometimes I bleep it out. Sometimes I don't. I'm not going to bleep it out this time. I'm going to say it. I was pooped. Sue me. So I wasn't able to get any reading done before I went to sleep, like after I showered and everything like that. I was just gone. But I was able to read like 10 or 15 pages while I was on break yesterday. So I should be able to read like 10 or 15 pages on break today. And hopefully I also won't get home super tired like I did yesterday, and I'll be able to read some before I go to sleep. I'm so happy I got to read such a big chunk of Martyr that first day. Like I read like 100 pages or something like that, because the first like introductory chapter wasn't really entirely doing it for me. And of course, like, you want to give a book like a decent amount of time to warm up to you. But that first chapter where you're just like watching Cyrus, our main character, be like rock bottom, lowest of the low, like it didn't really give me like a lot of hope for the rest of the book, if that makes sense. But reading so much of it yesterday and the day before, like I really do like this book so much. I was hoping to read a little bit more this morning, but then Mom's hit me up and was like, let's get brunch. And you know a brother can't say no to brunch. So I'm going to take my book with me to work. Hopefully I can read another like 10 or 15 pages. And then I got a good night's sleep, so hopefully I won't be as tired when I get home from work. I really like this book, so I'm hoping that the last 2/3 of the book are as good as the first third of the book, but we're only going to be able to find out if we keep on reading. So I'll catch up with y'all tonight, hopefully, so we can do a little roundup of how much I've been able to read. Good evening and salutations, everybody. I hope y'all had about as mid of a day as I did. I didn't come home from work with like this undying necessary need to fall asleep, so I'll take that as a W. I didn't keep track, but I did get some reading done while I was on break at work today, so now I am on page 153 out of about 331. I don't want to spoil the book for anybody who is either currently reading it or who wants to read it in the future, because I think this is definitely a book you should read. Like I said, I'm really enjoying it, but so far I think my favorite character actually isn't our main character. I think it's Roya, who is our main character's mother. I didn't know this about Martyr coming in, but you definitely switch perspectives a lot in this book, and it just so happens that the chapters that are from the mother's perspective are some of my favorites so far. And I still love Cyrus as a character, don't get me wrong, but his mother's chapters, they're doing something to me. I have about an hour before I have to go to sleep, but my room is a little bit of a mess, and I also want to get some reading done. So I think we're going to do 30-ish minutes of reading, 30-ish minutes of organizing. I will say today is actually like a pretty typical day, probably the most typical day I've had so far in terms of like how I spread out my reading. Like I mostly don't get a lot of reading done in the morning, and most of it is done like after I get home from work, with maybe a little bit done at work. But what I will also say is that I haven't really been listening to audiobooks as much recently. Again, I was reading Crime and Punishment, which took up a bunch of my time, but also for whatever reason, I just haven't gravitated towards audiobooks. And I will say, when I like came to that realization, I just hopped on Libby just to see if there was anything that like piqued my interest. And I did rent out I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. If any of y'all have read this book or have heard of this book, leave a comment down below, because I remember seeing this cover. I forget in whose YouTube video. I remember seeing them talk about this book. I might have had the video on mute or something. And then I saw someone talking about that book in Ian Goobley's newest video. And I was like, I've seen this book twice. This has to be some sort of sign. So I haven't started listening to it yet, but I think I might start tomorrow. I have some errands that I have to run tomorrow morning. So I might just take both Martyr and obviously my audiobook with me and just see if I can probably chill out like at a coffee shop or at Barnes & Noble or something like that, just to see if I can get some reading done outside of the crib. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think we're just going to read for a little bit before we get some chores done, and then I'll catch up with y'all in the morning. You think after reading for 20-something minutes, I'm gonna get out of my dummy comfy bed and organize? Watch this. Hey, all lights off. Okay. I'll catch y'all tomorrow morning. Peace. All right, y'all. Up and at 'em early morning today. I got some minor stuff that I'm getting. I have to get some rubber bands and some note cards. So while I do all that, I think I'm going to listen to I Who Have Never Known Men, which I am kind of iffy on. I've heard people either really, really love it or they feel kind of just middle of the road on it. So I'm excited to see how I feel. It's a pretty short audiobook. I think it's only like 6 hours or something like that. I don't remember what the physical copy looks like, so maybe it's just a lot shorter than I remember it being. But yeah, let's get some errands done and some books listened to. Let's go. Come back. We're running errands. Alright, y'all, so I walked into that Barnes & Noble with $1 and a dream, and I left with nothing, which I think is an accomplishment in it of itself. So I have about 45 minutes to kill. I gotta get home in order to like dry my work clothes off and stuff, as well as get my food and stuff ready for work. So I think I might find some outdoor seating. I know they have some around here, so I think I might find outdoor seating and see if I can read a little bit of Martyr. I'm about 40 minutes. I'll screenshot it and put it on screen. Maybe almost 40 minutes into I Who Have Never Known Men. And so far, it's interesting. I'm not saying it's like the greatest book I've ever read or anything like that, but I'm definitely enjoying it so far. There was one moment in the beginning that was kind of confusing, where in the story, they start talking about the prefaces to books. And I thought that that was the preface to this book. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting. Usually you don't see audiobooks worry about the preface or anything like that. So I had to do a little bit of rewinding just to make sure like I understood what was going on. But I feel like that would be easier like if I had the physical copy of the book. But yeah, so far so good. Outdoor seating has been spotted. I'm gonna go sit down and see if I can knock out some pages of Martyr, because I read a very interesting like 10-20 pages last night and I want to continue reading it. So let's get to that. Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. I am predicting a 5-star read or a very, very strong 4-star read. So we're gonna get started with this. I got about 15 minutes now after our little Joanne's excursion, so that should be enough for maybe like a chapter or two. The chapters in this book are really small, so let's go. All right, so we have a problem here. So I forgot to put my clothes in the washer before I left. I just took them out of the washer because I put them in there when I got here. And now I have about 15 minutes for my clothes to dry and then about 5 minutes to get ready before I got to start heading to work. So what are we going to do instead of everything that we established that we were going to do? I'm going to get myself a haircut. Now, I haven't done this in a while and I don't really have enough time to get the top. So I think I'm just going to get the sides and maybe do an edge up later tonight or tomorrow. I don't know. This is why I ain't blow up on YouTube yet, because this is how I look after a haircut where I tried my best. All right, we have to clean up, we have to change, and then we gotta get ready. Have y'all, I have a back tattoo. Have y'all seen my back tattoo? Yeah. There it is. I don't know if I put it on the internet yet, but there you go. I have a back tattoo. I love it very much. Shout out my roommate. ADHD in full effect right now. All right, in the few seconds before I have to leave for work, I will say that while the little bit of Martyr that I read wasn't too crazy or like awe-inducing as the first bit or the first third that I read of the book was, I am enjoying this introductory section, to I Who Have Never Known Men, the kind of universe and character that Hartman is able to create so far. I think, like I said, I'm barely 40 minutes into it, if that. I'm really enjoying it. We have these women, we have our main character, and we have the situation that they're in. I kind of want to see if there's just a little bit more past that. So far, I think we're building towards something. I think there's going to be like maybe a situation where they escape their captivity, or maybe something that changes our main character's worldview on things. And like, I just really want to see like that evolution, that next step in the book so far. And because the book is so short, I know like I still have a lot to go. Like I said, maybe 40 minutes in, it's a 6-hour audiobook. I know I have a lot more to like go, but I'm really kind of interested to see where this story goes. Sitting at a very casual 3 stars right now, but I know I'm very early on into the book, so I'm not gonna blame anything for that. I will catch y'all after work because I seriously have to go now. I did it. Yeah, I think if I had time before work, I probably would have gone full cut before I went to work, but I didn't have the time. It is now the next day, however. I have about an hour before I have to start getting ready for work, so I am going to go back to reading Martyr. I don't want to spoil too much of the book, but like I've said previously in videos where like I'm reading books for a few days or a week or something like that, I really want to treat my end of month reading wrap-ups as like where I talk about a book in its fullness, like spoilers and everything. But I will say there's a certain style of chapter in this book that I really enjoy. Our main character, Cyrus, as a young child, suffered from insomnia. And even as an adult, he talks about like being unable to fall asleep sometimes. And one of the things he used to do when he was a kid that he started to do more now as an adult is have these like fake conversations with people he knows, people he doesn't know, characters he's created, celebrities. And in this like extended thought experiment, the entire conversation is what helps him kind of fall asleep or at least doze off. If I'm not wrong, I think we've had 2 of those conversations so far. There's one chapter where it is Lisa Simpson from The Simpsons talking to his mother and having a conversation between them two. And then I just finished reading another chapter that was based on one of those conversations between Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the famous basketball player, and Cyrus's unborn brother, like the brother he wished he had. And I think that's such an interesting like storytelling tactic to get us like not only to understand kind of the messaging and the points that this book is trying to make, but also to understand Cyrus, to understand our main character better. I got a frozen pizza in the oven. I got a book in my hands. I got an uncomfy couch, but I do have uncomfy pillows. And I don't know if you've been following this channel for a while. I may or may not know how to read. So I think that's what we're going to do for the next hour or so. Going to chill out before we have to start getting ready for work. And yeah, I hope you're all having a good day. I hope you're all having a good time. Let's get to reading. Tell me this doesn't look absolutely gas. Hey y'all, what's up? I forgot lens caps existed. So I am home from work and I was actually able to read for the entirety of my break, really. So now, let me double check and see what page I'm on. I am on page 261 out of 331. So you can tell right here, this is where I'm at right now, where that little gap is where I'm at. I'm essentially 70 pages until the end of this book. It is about 1:30 a.m. right now, and I usually go to sleep at around 2 or 2:30 a.m. So this is actually a perfect, like, getting in bed time for me. So I may or may not finish this book tonight. I'm not sure, depending on how sleepy I get, but I'm going to write in my journal. I got a granola bar for a snack because your boy is hungry. And then, yeah, I think I could probably get through these 70 pages. I can sense that something is about to happen. I can sense like a twist, or something is going to change, or Cyrus is going to discover something. Again, no spoilers in this video, but I can sense like some big important piece of information is about to happen, and I can't wait to read it. So I think just knowing that, I might finish this book tonight, but I'm not going to put too much pressure on it. Overall, I will let y'all know if I finish Martyr tomorrow morning, but I also wanted to say, kind of, it is now 4 days into this video, and I've been thinking about it, and I really do think that this is like an almost perfect week of reading for me. Like, yes, I work 40 hours or more a week. Yes, I have errands to run and things to do, and I have really loud motorcycles outside of my window. I don't know if y'all heard that, but I do like trying to fit in reading where I can, and that's the main reason that I wanted to make this video, is that, especially for me personally, like, I feel with how much book content I consume, I really feel like I don't read enough, or at least that's how I felt before, and I've been getting at least a little bit better with that now. But being able to fit in reading, whether it's on my lunch break, or before I go to work, or before I go to bed, or on my days off where I can just read for like 2 or 3 hours, you know, without having to worry about anything. I really do think that that's like the perfect system for me, and that's what works for me. And I hope that y'all watching this video, or even if y'all have somehow stumbled onto my little corner of the internet, I really hope that y'all can figure out some sort of system. What I'm kind of figuring out right now is that this is what works for me, and I hope that you guys have something, or that you find something that works for you. Either way, rant over. I'm going to eat my snack. I'm going to read Martyr. I'm going to write in my journal, and I'm going to catch up with y'all tomorrow morning. See you then. Good morning, y'all. Or good afternoon, I should say. It is the next day, and while I wasn't able to read too much of Martyr last night, I was able to finish it this morning, and I have a lot of thoughts. I have finished the book, and Martyr did something that a couple books that I've been reading recently have done, which is have a sort of like ambiguous ending. And no spoilers in this video, but I think I'm going to take the next few days and kind of just come to terms with what I think happened at the end of this book, like my own kind of personal decision on what I think happened, but also what the text tells me happened. Because when I read Beautyland, like, I personally had come to a decision on what I think happened, and then the author said, this is what I think happened. So like, I kind of agreed with the author's take. From what I understand, I don't think Kaveh Akbar has come out and said, you know, this is what happens at the end of my book. So I kind of want to come to like my own decision on what I think happened, but also like respect the writing and respect what Akbar wrote. Kaveh Akbar is a poet, and I knew that before starting to read Martyr, and I think that really shows in his prose and how he chooses to, like, the timeline of his stories. You can really see like the poetry and how he tells it, with all of the flashbacks, with these imaginary conversations, with the multiple narrators or the points of view. I think being able to tell Cyrus's story from so many points of view is so interesting. I really like when authors are really able to give you like the setting, or being able to build an environment or the world, not just through like describing, oh, this is what Cyrus is thinking, this is what Cyrus's environment is, but being able to give you points of view of different characters, of different timelines that might not be quote unquote incredibly important to the main story, but that help build a foundation so that when Cyrus finds out this incredibly important information, or when Cyrus makes this incredibly important decision, you kind of get like all of the foundation, all of the background information that you need to understand why they're doing what they're doing. The book has a lot of depth, and it is very rich and full of information and of great quotes, some great underlines I did in this book. But essentially, you're just following Cyrus Sham's journey over a week or two. And I think the way that Kaveh Akbar was able to write that journey and was able to kind of bring us along as like there are large portions in this book where it is Cyrus in a museum observing art, talking with Orchidea, talking with this dying woman. And I feel like at points in this novel, that's what we're doing. Like, we are observers in Cyrus's museum, whether it's with the life that he's living, with the life that his family or his friends are living, excuse me, and with the story that he's trying to write in this book. Like, I feel like we are the museum observers in the life that Cyrus is trying to build and write about. And I'll kind of gather my thoughts more. I know that's a little jumbled. I'll gather my thoughts and kind of speak on it with more conviction and like knowledge when I do my monthly reading wrap up in like a week or two. But I really did enjoy Martyr. I'm glad I was able to read it over the last few days. And I think what we're going to move on to next is You Dreamed of Empires by Alvaro Enrique, translated by Natasha Wimmer. Another book that I started reading it and stopped a little bit of the way through, so we are going to be restarting this. But I really enjoyed Martyr. I'm glad I started with that. A book that I had high expectations for, and I think they were met. And same with You Dreamed of Empires. While I don't have like incredibly high expectations for this, if you want to call it that, I love the premise of this whole trippy interaction between the Spaniards and the Aztec Empire. I'm excited, I should say, to hop back into this. I think I stopped around a third of the way through. I was on page 78. So I'm glad to hop back into this. I don't know if I'm going to read any of this at work today. I think I might start tonight, but yeah, I think after reading Martyr for so long, I feel kind of like sad to stop reading it. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, it impacted me a lot. I connected a lot with Cyrus as a main character, and I connected a lot with the journey that he was going on. So I have to start getting ready for work. Yeah, I do actually right now. I should be doing that right now. But I'm going to think about the ending, think about kind of the journey that Cyrus read on, think about the journey that I went on, honestly, when I read the book. And then either tonight or tomorrow morning, I will get started on You Dreamed of Empires, and I'll see y'all there. Good evening, y'all. It is actually the next day, and I wanted to catch you up on the little bit of reading I've done since we last spoke before we end today's video. So I don't know where my copy of You Dreamed of Empires is now that I think about it, but I was able to get to page, I think, 44 or 45, if I'm not mistaken. And then this morning, while just doing stuff around the apartment, I listened to another 20 minutes of the audiobook, I Who Have Never Known Men, which I feel like every time I mention the title, I'm getting the title of the book wrong. Today was a busy day. The only reading I was able to do was the 20 minutes of that audiobook. And then after that, I went and played some basketball with some friends. And what I thought was going to be, 1 or 2 hours of shooting hoops turned out to be like 4 or 5. So I didn't get home until like 5:30. Then roommate and I did groceries and stuff like that. So to finish off this whole thing, I really want to thank y'all for watching. I'm really happy that I was able to kind of find kind of easier ways to insert reading into my everyday life this week, especially in ways where I don't feel like too forced to do it, or where like I have to read instead of doing something else that I want to do. And that's something that I'm personally trying to get better at. It's just making sure that while I do love reading, while I do love playing video games or watching basketball or whatever it is that I like to do, I don't feel like I have to do one thing over another. And if I do choose to do one thing over another, it doesn't mean that I don't like doing thing number 2. I just like doing thing number 1 a little bit more right now. So with that in mind, I want to thank y'all for watching. I hope you enjoyed kind of this regular week of reading for me. This is how I read. This is how I fit in reading into my life. I would argue like 99% of the time, unless I have like a very free open day, or I'm filming like a Brave New Roll video or something like that where I have to read 200 pages. Like, this is how much I read like on average on any given week in the year. And if y'all enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good business. Do something that makes you happy, do something that makes you some money, and I'll catch y'all next week when I upload my next video. See y'all.